Manchester United obviously in action in the Champions League today. They have to beat Bayern. They have to hope that Galatasaray and Copenhagen draw their game if they are to progress to the next round. So obviously there's a lot of pressure, a lot of talk about them at the moment. And I want to start with you here, Mark, because if they do not get through in the Champions League, what are the chances that Erik Ten Hag will be fired?
I don't think it'll be on the back of losing the Champions League game or getting knocked out of the Champions League. I think the situation at United right now is that everything is in limbo until the ownership situation, or less the ownership, more a case of the management above Ten Hag changes, because we know that Sir Jim Ratcliffe and his team are going to come in at some point very soon. I think that is when the clock starts ticking on Ten Hag, because as it stands right now, there's nobody there to dismiss him, because the Glazers aren't going to do it right now, because they've got more interest in the situation of changing the emphasis of the structure beneath them. So it will all depend on Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming in, and I would guess that with this season pretty much a write-off, I think United are going to struggle to get into the Champions League spaces. It might be a case of let's get to the summer and then make a cold-hearted judgment on Ten Hag by then, and even maybe give Ten Hag the opportunity to lose his job, in the sense that if he doesn't get into the Champions League, then it's easier for the new regime to say, right, you failed to get into the Champions League, you've taken the team backwards, it's time to move on. Mid-season, with no obvious options to come and replace him, I think it's going to be difficult for Ten Hag to go, unless results get really, really bad. I think Ten Hag stays into the summer for a variety of reasons, not because he's doing a good job, because of the situation whereby there's a bit of a void up above him and there's no real obvious candidate to come and replace him until the end of the season.
Where do you stand on that, Janusz?
To me, it's a bigger problem. I mean, it's almost like crossing the Rubicon. That's where they are in those next two games, right? More of an existential question about Manchester United in general. But I'm with Mark because there's always that hope that when Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in, maybe there's going to be some deeper changes that are going to go over the years. Because let's be honest here. I mean, we're looking at Manchester United, that we're talking about how massive of a club that is. But this rebuild, it seems to be taken now for what, 12, 13 years since Sir Alex Ferguson has left. You look at Arsenal, who had a similar situation with Arsene Wenger, and they're coming back in a short period of time. We'll probably get to Chelsea, but I feel that Chelsea are going to get there before that. Maybe, who knows? So my issues here that, I'm looking at Manchester United team that at the moment is it feels like a retirement club rather than anything else. So he'll stick around, but I think today, what happens when Harry Kane comes in and scores a couple, which I believe he may, and then you lose to Liverpool. But I'll go with Mark because he's probably right. Who's going to pull the trigger?
Oh, Janusz, where's that spirit of Eintracht Frankfurt that maybe Manchester United could have against Bayern Munich?
Well, I knew you were going to go about, Bayern Munich maybe aren't at their best, but I look at that squad, right? Look at the team of Bayern Munich. Look at the player in every position, and look at Manchester United. I don't think it's even close. So, I mean, there may be in a bad way, Bayern Munich, but if you're going to get them going, you'd feel that, okay, with the sort of players that Bayern Munich have, it's much, much easier, much closer to get the ship right than it is with Manchester United, because no matter where you look, you don't see one world-class player. You really don't. And, Bruno, I don't want to start this going here, but okay, he seems like one, but he doesn't act like one.
Ryan, you've actually written about the terrible times at Manchester United as your latest article. What are the main points that you've picked out there?
Yeah, I just tried to sort of list the reasons for why the team is so terrible, basically, because I think with Manchester United, right, like on the one hand, there are underperforming players, there are injuries, there are questions over Ten Hag. All of the decisions he's making this year, there's questions over who they're signing. And on the other hand, like this is just the same pattern that's been persisting for 10 years, right? Where it's since Sir Alex Ferguson left, they'll finish second or third, then they'll finish sixth or seventh, and then they'll bring in a new coach, and then all of a sudden they'll finish third or fourth, and it'll feel like a success, even though like third or fourth place isn't successful for Manchester United. Like it shouldn't be, given how much money the team has, but because the team has underperformed so badly and they have this volatile kind of up and down, performance level from season to season, you kind of convince yourself that, they finished in third. Like this is progress for a team that has more money than all but 2 teams on planet Earth. So yeah, I tried to list out the reasons, and I think, you know, it all comes back to ownership ultimately, as we're talking about, because ownership, the Glazers are the only people that have been at Manchester United since Sir Alex Ferguson left. Everyone else has cycled in and out, and all the same stuff continues happening. But at the same time, I think that there's specific reasons for why the team currently is. They have the worst goal differential they've had since Sir Alex Ferguson left through 16 games. So there's a pretty good argument that this is actually the worst that they've been at any point.
Yeah, there was that stat that from 92-93 to the 12-13 season under Sir Alex, United only suffered 9 shutout losses at home by at least 3 goals. Well, since the 13-14 season, it's now happened 15 times. But Mark, to go to the dressing room, Scott McTominay has actually said that the dressing room's no longer toxic, which is different to how it was under some of the recently previous managers at Manchester United. And he insists that Ten Hag has changed the culture at the club.
I don't believe any of that, though. I'll tell you why I don't believe it. It's because when the dressing room was supposedly toxic, they weren't saying it was toxic. It was the message we were getting out of the dressing room at the time was, oh, no, it's a great spirit within the camp and everyone gets on. It's only afterwards that people admit that actually it wasn't quite like that. And when results are so bad, you know, if the dressing room isn't toxic at the moment, that'd be quite a worry, because you'd hope that there'd be people in that dressing room arguing with each other and pulling each other up and telling each other they're not doing the job. And if it's not like that, then that is a problem. So I think when players come out and say the dressing room's great and the spirit's great and it's not toxic anymore, I think that right to tell us it actually is, because it doesn't stand up that the fact results are so bad that it shouldn't be a happy camp. I mean, Janusz will know better than me, but when a team's not winning, if it's a happy camp, there's something not quite right. So I don't buy into that, what McTominay's saying. I think the reality is that the Man United dressing room and the squad is quite split. And I think you're seeing that with performances every week.
Go on, Janusz.
Yeah, no, and you know, the issue here is really, I mean, we toxic or not. I mean, you look at Manchester United, and we often talk about mentality, right? And it's too often. What is mentality, right? Look at this team. Any sign of trouble, and this team folds the tent. I mean, it's unacceptable against Bournemouth. I mean, we can sit here and talk about Andoni Iraola, who, you know, just a week or two ago we were saying that Gary O'Neill shouldn't have been let go, and he had a tough start. And you look at this situation, just smart and all that. Any team can pretty much now beat Manchester United home or away. That's the bottom line. And the problem is with the recruitment. I mean, you have a recruitment. I mean, who wants to come to Manchester United? Let's be honest. We used to say that, but we were maybe afraid because of, I don't know, you know, people online. I don't really care. I mean, you look at this Manchester United, the only players that are coming there is that the Ten Hag knows. Nobody else is coming. Who's going to really come to this team right now? I mean, any player of note is going to come to this mess, not because of Ten Hag, not because of the dressing room, but because of the whole situation. And really, Manchester United, and Ryan has said it, you know, the biggest club is second or third best, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, I would not come in there because there's no chance for success. I mean, you know, this is a retirement club, right? I mean, if you look at Eriksen, look at Casemiro, look at Varane, even though I have respect them, and to some degree, I would like to see Varane again. But with the injuries, with the age, where they are in their career, how can this be successful? I mean, where are the young players that we used to seeing, or where's the idea of building a club that, okay, we are where we are. This is not 1 year, not 2 years, not 3 years. This has been, for the most part, what, 10, 12 years of this. And there's no light at the end of the tunnel. So I think at the end of it, it really comes down to the players that you have and how much can you get out of them, right? You know, Martial, I don't want to go there. Højlund, nice guy. I'm sure he'll come good, maybe finally score a goal or two, right? But you know, you could have had Harry Kane, although I don't believe he wanted to come there. And then, you know, McTominay thinks he's Ronaldo right now. Fair play. I mean, but you know there's something wrong when your best player is McTominay. You know the situation is not great, and by no means am I taking anything away from him.
Well, you mentioned Ronaldo, so let me just put this to you, Ryan, before we finish on Manchester United. We're getting some comments through right now saying Cristiano Ronaldo was right after all. What do you think of such comments?
Oh God. I mean, he was right in terms of his criticisms of the unprofessionalness and just kind of the mess that the club is. But at the same time, I actually credit Ten Hag for cutting ties with Ronaldo. I don't think that was an easy decision. And Manchester United did get immediately much better as soon as Ronaldo stopped playing. So I think they were right to get rid of him. But I also think that Ronaldo's criticisms of just how kind of stuck in the past and unmodernized this team is, we're also correct.
Go on, Mark.
Yeah, I just want to say on Ronaldo, I think that, as well as he did in that first season, all the goals he scored, I think that the root of United's problems right now, and they've had a lot of problems, but I think the root of them right now is bringing Ronaldo back. What was it, 2 years ago, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Because at that point, Solskjaer looked like he just might have been getting something going. He had Rashford playing really well, and he had other players that were just kind of coming to the fore. And Ronaldo came in and just completely exploded the kind of harmony in the squad. And he was the big ego, and people had their kind of nose put out of joint. People didn't like it. And that sense of selfishness that a few players have developed since then, that maybe Ronaldo kind of had more than anybody else, remains. There's a lot of players that are playing for themselves or not playing for the teammates. I think that stems from the kind of the earthquake we had when Ronaldo came back, and it was almost like every player for himself. And that mentality has stayed, and Ten Hag hasn't been able to eradicate that. He hasn't got the personality or the credibility amongst the squad to get rid of that. So what United need right now is a complete reset. It's like Man City had at the outset of their kind of growth in the shape, man. So the kind of a project that comes along, that it encourages players to come along in the sense that something's changing, something different, something exciting.